Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to today's TSF1 Greece podcast regarding the Spanish Grand Prix. I would like to first say hello to my co-hosts, Panos and Dimitris. Hello, guys.
Hello, Alex.
Hello.
So, a quick introduction for this podcast, what we saw in Spain. So, once again, we had Max Verstappen, who certainly was once again in a league of his own, delivering an awe-inspiring performance. His handling of the Red Bull car was remarkable, and he dominated the race basically from the very beginning. Equally impressive were Lewis Hamilton and George Russell of Mercedes. Panos will also make the comments later on regarding the qualifying, where Mercedes really shined this weekend. Hamilton showcased his well-known tenacity, securing the second place with determination, while Russell had an amazing day as well, showing his mettle moving by claiming the spot on the podium, the third place. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great day for everyone. Surprise, surprise, Ferrari's performance left much to be desired, once again, with both of their drivers, particularly Sainz, struggling throughout the race. The team certainly has got a challenging task ahead to refine the race strategy and performance. But that's for later on, when we will see how the Grand Prix went along. First of all, though, we will have Panos, who will run us through free practice 1, 2 and 3 and the qualifying process. So Panos, the podcast is yours.
Thank you, Alex. So we had some highlights during the free practice session and qualifying. After free practice 1, Friday morning, first of all, we cut the chicane from the last two turns of Spain. That's the first thing we have to say. Drivers now have a last corner of a right long corner, which stresses a lot more the left tires, left front and left rear. Many drivers said that they feel the porpoising effects coming back. We saw that on Friday a lot and on Saturday. So after free practice 1, we have Max Verstappen leading the pack with 1:14.606. Second, Sergio Perez, and third, Esteban Ocon. After free practice 2, we have Friday afternoon Max Verstappen first with 1:13.907. Fernando Alonso, the Spaniard, there's the Spanish say, coming second, and third, Nico Hulkenberg with a Haas. Now we move on to free practice 3. The drivers saw the rain coming, so they came out early to perform a fast lap, and then some of them, when the rain came eventually, tried the intermediate compound, but none of them seemed to find a pace. But on the intermediate, by the way, Fernando Alonso was the fastest, 2 turns in front of Max Verstappen. So we have our top 3 before the qualifying. Max Verstappen first, once again, with 1:13.664. Second, Sergio Perez, and third, Lewis Hamilton. We move on to qualifying, and I think the Q1 was a bit of a disaster for many drivers, especially the left turn right before the last corner, where Nick De Vries seemed to spin like three times, I think. Anyway, we have out of Q1 in 16th Valtteri Bottas, 17th Kevin Magnussen, 18th Alex Albon, 19th Charles Leclerc, and 20th Logan Sargent. We move on now to Q2. Out of Q3 we have in 11th Sergio Perez, 12th George Russell, 13th Zhou Guanyu, 14th Nick De Vries, and 15th Yuki Tsunoda. And our top 10 drivers are poleman on his own league, as Alex said, Max Verstappen throughout the weekend. Second, Carlos Sainz. Third, Lando Norris, who had the pace this weekend. Fourth, Pierre Gasly. Fifth, Lewis Hamilton. Sixth, Lance Stroll in front of Alonso. 7th, Esteban Ocon. 8th, Nico Hulkenberg. 9th, Fernando Alonso. And 10th, Oscar Piastri.
Great. So, with that in mind, I think me and Dimitris can go on and start commenting on how the race unfolded. So, we will do it in approximate 5 lap intervals. So, starting off. So
Please begin.
Oh, shall I begin? Thank you, I will. Okay, so on the first 5 laps, the race began with fervor, so we saw really the drivers were pushing each other, but not too much, but they were also not really backing out, any one of them. Leclerc opted for a challenging start from the pits on hard tires, while the Red Bulls started on mediums and the majority started on softs. Sainz daring attempt to overtake Verstappen failed. Okay, he gave it a shot but didn't work out, and Lando Norris on his side lost several positions, even colliding with Hamilton. That was interesting.
Well, from lap 6 to 10, Verstappen took command, of course, setting the fastest lap. Stroll managed to overtake Hamilton for the third place, and notably Russell and Zhou each improved their positions by 5 places.
So further down the race, we then had Hamilton, who fought back and regained his third position from Stroll. Zhou was the first driver to pit, shifting directly to hard tires, while Leclerc and Perez were making steady progress in the race.
For laps 26th and 20th, the Mercedes drivers Hamilton and Russell were closing to the gap to the leading cars. Both Ocon and Stroll entered the pit lane, allowing Alonso to move up to 5th. And Sainz pitted on lap 16 and emerged in the 18th position.
So further down the line in the next 5 laps, so laps 21 to 25, both Hamilton and Russell opted for pit stops, while Verstappen and Perez stayed out on the track. Verstappen decided to pit on lap 25 and switched to hard tires, while Magnussen's pit stop was rather problematic, leading to a delay for the Haas team.
So for laps 31 to 35, Alonso managed to overtake Perez on lap 31. Verstappen led was almost 14 seconds by the halfway point, and Russell made the successful move to overtake Sainz for third place.
Further down the race, we also saw Perez, who was steadily catching up to Sainz, and a series of pit stops led to changes in the race order. Further down the line, from until lap 45, we also had Verstappen's lead over Hamilton had increased at this point to 15 seconds, while Hamilton was 10 seconds ahead of his teammate Russell on the third place. On his side, Perez moved up to third place and started reducing the gap to Russell.
So Russell decided to pit for soft tires. Both Hamilton and Perez followed suit, leaving Verstappen unchallenged in the lead, and Alonso made a daring move to overtake Ocon. Of course, Perez took the fourth position from Sainz. Perez was now reducing the gap to Russell, and Verstappen was cautioned about exceeding track limits.
He wasn't actually exceeding track limits, he was just dancing on the limit, the Red Bull fans would say later on Twitter and other social media. So pretty much that was what happened until lap 55. In the last laps, we saw the gap between Verstappen and Hamilton to have grown in an amazing 19 seconds. As we said, Verstappen was again on a pace and a lead of his own. Other than that, there were no significant changes in the race order during the last part of the race. That means that we have the top 3 in Spain being... we just had it here, yes. So, as we said, we had Max Verstappen on first place, followed by Lewis Hamilton on the second place of the podium with a final gap of 24.09 seconds, followed by George Russell 8 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. So that was pretty much everything we saw from the Spanish Grand Prix. I think it was an interesting Grand Prix. What do you think? I mean, we really saw Mercedes make a big comeback.
We finally saw the updates Dimitris told us about last week in Monaco. Yes, an extraordinary weekend for Mercedes and for McLaren, to be honest, until the crash of Norris and Hamilton. But I don't agree with Hamilton being driver of the day. I think Russell should take that home, to be honest. If you keep that in mind that Russell started from P12, I believe, and he came back to third position, while Lewis Hamilton had a not that much challenging race. He just overtook Stroll, which isn't that hard, to be honest. Catastrophic race for Ferrari.
Well, that's new. That doesn't happen often, right?
Yes, I think with that, back in Maranello, they have to consider about what should change, because they said that they brought some upgrades.
How many people they should fire?
Everyone.
Yes.
Start from a blank page.
That would be.
Look at what the Zemo back.
I think if we can talk seriously, that it's the first year of the new team principal, and that
we should really give the man some time, because he took basically not a sinking ship. The ship is basically already sunk. It's under the water. He just tries to slowly bring it up.
Exactly.
It's even more difficult because it's full of water now. So
and it's Italian.
Challenge 30 years ago, but now it's okay. Good luck with that.
Exactly. But I think Sainz can do something about it. Leclerc doesn't have the pace at the moment, and I think he doesn't have the psychology, to be honest. But a disappointing weekend for Ferrari, and on the other hand, a very promising weekend for Mercedes. Dimitri.
He's so excited he won't even comment. Okay, I think that was pretty much everything we saw, so things remain as we knew them. Red Bull is on a lead of its own, Mercedes made a comeback, no surprise there, and Ferrari is still for the garbage, no surprise there. So, next race is in 2 weeks, between June 16th and 18th. We will have the Grand Prix of Canada on, if I try to pronounce the name, people are gonna kill me. It's Circuit, no, I'm not gonna do it. So, the Canadian Grand Prix was first took place in 1978. On this track we have a circuit length of 4.3 kilometers. We will have a race of 70 laps, covering a race distance of 305.3 kilometers approximately, and currently the lap record holder is Valtteri Bottas back in 2019 with 1 minute 13 seconds .078. I think that was pretty much everything that we had to cover for Spain. We look forward to the next weekend, where we will finally have the 24 hours of Le Mans. So if you're into WEC, please consider following our playlist for the WEC podcasts as well. If not, we will see you in 2 weeks for the Canadian Grand Prix. From the TSF1 podcast team, we wish you a great day or evening, and we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Bye bye.